All right, welcome everybody. This is the pre-bid meeting or QA session for the RFP 250073. This is for the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant. Sorry, it's for the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, CCAP, with the Office of Sustainability. This is an opportunity for you all to get to know the project a little bit more, get to meet the evaluation team. If you have any more particular questions about the project itself, we do have the evaluation team here. You'll be able to ask them questions and learn more about the project. On that note, my name is Alan Cunningham. I'm with Lowell Metro Office of Management and Budget. I'm a procurement analyst. You've probably seen my name on Bonfire. I'm your go-to guy. I'm the person who's been setting up the bid and making sure that everything goes smoothly online with the bid process. I've put my email and my phone number in the chat function, but you can also find it in the specifications if you have any questions for me outside of this meeting. Just to give you an idea of what's gonna happen forward with this meeting, we'll do some quick introductions with the evaluation team. I'll cover a couple of things with dates and with the bidding process. And then I'm going to turn it over to Sumeda, who will cover the scope of the project. And then we'll wrap everything up with questions. All right. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Sumeda and her team. And go ahead and just introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Alan. My name is Sumedha Rao, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Mayor's Office of Sustainability. And we are the lead agency that is the main grantee for the EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant and are the project managers for this endeavor. And I'll pass it on to Alex and Jake from my team to introduce themselves.
Thank you. Yeah, and my name is Alex Heron. I'm the program coordinator with the Office of Sustainability, working with Sumedha as one of the evaluators on this project.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jake Medley. I work as the green economy analyst for the Office of Sustainability. It's good to be here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, Amanda. Like I said, I'm going to just cover a couple of things with the bid process itself. You all are already familiar with Bonfire. You had to have gotten there in order to get to us, in order to even get the web link. But just a couple of things. Make sure you submit all the documentation that we're requiring from you. If we've done work with you in the past, assume we've never done work with you. Submit a complete proposal. Just assume we don't even know who you are. A couple of important dates. The last day for questions is November 6th. Please get any questions on the Bonfire portal on the module. I know we already have a couple of them in already, but get it in by that date so we can get a response back to you on time. If you do have questions after that date, you can still email them to me. But we can't promise that we'll get a response to you by the submission end date. So please submit as many as you can by November 6th. The other important date to keep in mind is the submission due date is November 13th at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Please do not wait until the last minute. Please submit all your proposal, all your required documents. I swear on every single bid project, we have at least one person who waits until the last minute, and then they have some kind of technical issue and it doesn't go through and we don't accept their bid proposal anymore. So please don't wait until the last minute. Submit those sooner than later. But if you have any questions or if you have any technical problems, please reach out to me. I'll be able to help you out with those. Is there any questions about the Bonfire or proposal process before we turn it over to Sumeda's team? Okay, like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know and go ahead and take it away, Sumeda.
All right, thank you, Alan. So thank you all so much for joining this call and for your interest in this bid opportunity. Some of you may be familiar with this grant. For the benefit of everybody, I'm going to start with a quick basic overview. So last year, the EPA made a large amount of money available to states and cities through a grant called the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, or CPRG. And states received $3 million, and the top 60 to 70 most populous MSAs, or metropolitan statistical areas, received $1 million each to do regional climate action planning process. So we are in one of the few states, the one of 5 states that declined their funding. So we don't have state level funding in Kentucky. However, Louisville, Lexington, and Bowling Green received $1 million each. So Louisville's $1 million represents not just Louisville, Jefferson County, but the surrounding counties as well. So we have a full list of all the counties in Kentucky and Indiana that are included as part of the scope in the bid proposal, or in the RFP. So what we're mainly looking for in terms of scope of work is, at a minimum, we would like this to comply with exactly what the EPA has required us to comply with. In the first year of the grant, we were one of the last cities to actually receive our funding. It was very rushed. If some of you have participated in the CPRG process with other grantees before, you know that it was chaotic. But we got the Priority Climate Action Plan completed in partnership with our local university. And now that we have a little bit more time for the rest of the scope of the process, we are looking forward to bidding it out and finding the right partner to help us complete the remaining scope of the work. So that includes the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, which is due around the fall of next year, and then some status reports that follow that through the end of the grant term. So as you might have seen, if you have had a chance to download the RFP and kind of read through it, we are trying a slightly unique approach of a more flexible and RFP process, modular type RFP process, where you can basically choose your scope in some ways. Our ideal situation would be to have a contractor who can serve as the overall project manager to make it easy on our team. We are a small team juggling a lot of grants, so we would like somebody to kind of serve as the overall project manager to keep this easier on our end, as well as to take on some of the required components of this grant, which include an updated greenhouse gas inventory, greenhouse gas emissions projections, GHG reduction targets, quantified GHG reduction measures, benefits analysis, low-income and disadvantaged communities benefits analysis, review of authority to implement, intersection of other funding availability, workforce planning, and some next steps. So these are all kind of the required components of the grant that we would like you to take on. However, in addition, we would really like to benefit from all of the local expertise that we have and try to keep some of this funding local with existing community partners that have been doing this work for a while, which is why we've broken out the scope for stakeholder and community engagement in the hopes that we can have some one or more local partners kind of bid on that aspect and help us with a lot of community engagement, since they already have the relationships and the longevity of doing the work in the area for a long time. And ultimately, we would like these contractors to work together to help us kind of smoothly complete this process. So that is a high-level overview. In terms of specific technical questions on things like the greenhouse gas inventory and what sort of calculations or assumptions are allowed, and what the EPA has a lot of resources that they've been making available to a lot of grantees on their website. There have been webinars and technical assistance forums and various other published guidance that can go deeper into that. But in terms of overall what we're looking for on scope and working together, we're happy to kind of take those questions now. And I will say one more thing, which is that in order to make this process more inclusive and equitable and accessible to especially minority-owned contractors and smaller community-based organizations, we also this year are very fortunate to have the partner Elevate do a follow-up Q&A session this Friday at noon, where they will provide more guidance to somebody who may not have been through a bid process before, who may not be familiar with this, and could use some additional assistance. So as the grantor, Louisville Metro government has to can't get too involved in helping you apply for the bid process, which is why we're really happy to have an external partner who can serve that role for anybody who's interested in taking advantage of that opportunity. So anyone is welcome to that meeting as well. And I will, and we can share that around. I see we have everybody's emails in the chat, so we're happy to kind of get that meeting information across to you all as well. So I think that's all I have in terms of overview. So happy to pause and let you all jump in with any questions that you have.
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask whatever questions you want. You can also submit questions in the chat function. See those and respond to them there. So.
Hey, Sumedha, this is Navneet here from
Hello.
WSP. Hey, I just wanted to check, is there a not to exceed contract value for this, given that there's a 1 million grant and there's already part of that grant has already been used? So is there a value to that?
That's a great question. So we have, so the total grant was $1 million. We spent about a fourth of that in the first year. It's a 4-year grant. So we have approximately 750,000 remaining, but some of that is going to go to some other inside expenses. But I would say around that much is the total scope remaining for all aspects of the scope that are left over. We can get back to you with a specific number, but that's the range that we're looking at. And Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we also have the opportunity. So after this process, we will, after we get everybody's bids and we evaluate them, there will be an interview phase. And then I believe that there's also going to be an opportunity there to negotiate the scope and the cost up and down a little bit if we need to, just to make sure that we're sticking within budget. But that's kind of the ballpark of what we're looking at.
Okay, and that still includes like the agency and stakeholder engagement. That is like that's a separate contract. That so both of these contracts
that's
together will
combined.
be that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just to clarify a little bit, once we have selected once we intend to award a company with a contract, there will be a negotiation phase. So we can talk more about pricing afterwards. I believe there is a cost proposal proponent on this.
Yeah.
After that's just to get a general idea of what we're looking at first. But if we want, we can negotiate pricing afterwards.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks for the clarification.
Any other questions about the scope of the project or the bid process?
I do have a quick question. Since this is a choose your own adventure type bid, where you can select the elements you want, are you only able to be selected for exactly the proposal you are putting out, or would you be able to maybe be selected for a portion of what you provided?
Yeah, that's another great question. So I think that, ideally, we would like, our ideal situation would be for one contractor to handle all of the technical aspects in project management, and then to have a local community-based organization do the community and stakeholder engagement. However, if there are, if there's a contractor that has a lot of strengths to offer and some of the scope, but there's some technical scope that's missing, we're open to bringing in somebody else to handle that aspect of the scope. But I think ideally we would like to have those kind of two main contractors. So the more scope you can cover, I think the more ideal it is. But if there are legitimate reasons why there's specific aspects of the scope that you need more support with, we can certainly, if you'd like to just describe that briefly in your application as to, for example, you can say that we're willing to do this. However, we would prefer if somebody else could take this on, or something that gives us some information as we're reviewing the RFPs to see if we might need to bring on somebody else just to handle that scope.
Thank you.
I had a question. How much of the engagement are you hoping for to be in person versus virtual?
Sure. I think we'd like to have a good mix of both. We've found in our past experience that the virtual engagement does get a lot greater participation just because it's easier for people to log in from home, to not have to be on camera, but just to participate at their convenience and not have to travel. However, just recognizing that not everybody may have easy access to be able to log on virtually, we do want to make sure that we have also presence in communities physically. So we would like to do a combination of both. During the PCAP process, we did 3 public meetings that were in person, especially in low-income disadvantaged communities. But then we had, I think we had 3 virtual as well that were more generic to anybody in the region. Yeah. But ideally, we'd like to have at least one event in each of the counties that we're representing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure, yeah. And then to the community partners too, I would encourage that, there may be organizations that are serving a specific part of this entire area, or that have, that have a specific demographic that they serve well. And, we're not necessarily asking you to go outside of that, but if you do want to coordinate with some other community partners that you work with, and maybe apply together so that collectively you're covering the full region and the different aspects that we'd like to cover, that is also encouraged and welcome. So you may want to apply through one organization, but bring on some supporting partners to help you.
Great, thank you.
Yes, and we're happy to also share the budget that has been approved by EPA, so you have an idea of our cost estimations. But it is approximately $500,000 for contractual scope, and then the remaining for community engagement, stakeholder compensation, collateral for materials required for events and outreach and things like that. But that's kind of like more of a rough breakdown, and we want to kind of talk to each person and figure out what the actual costs are, where they land, and make adjustments during the final negotiation.
Hey, Sumedha, one more question, Navneet here from WSP. Just to clarify, the community engagement and the stakeholder engagement is included in the scope, right? We still need to do that, but you mentioned like if you would prefer if there's a local entity will be leading that. Is that correct?
Yes. Ideally, we'd like to have local partners lead that work, but if we do get a agency that's handling the rest of the scope and serving as a project manager, then to be able to coordinate and be present in those meetings and be able to speak to the technical side of the grant and things like that would be helpful. So we would still like all contractors to be engaged and all team members to be engaged in those stakeholder meetings, but then essentially have community partners take the lead on organizing them and doing the outreach and facilitating those events.
Okay, but you don't have the local partners selected yet. That's
No,
still
yeah,
announced.
we're bidding for that as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And also for community partners, we are, I sent out an email to some community partners, but then we understand that the bidding process can be intimidating, especially if you're a smaller group that hasn't done this before with the timeline and capacity constraints. So there are ways for everybody, all community partners, to be involved even outside of the bidding process. So if you just want to be engaged in the conversation, you want to provide input and feedback, you want to help host some meetings with your partners, we have a form that you can use to just let us know that you're interested, and we will still be able to engage you and work with you. But if you look at the scope of work, the main facilitator that we're going to bid to, that's like a more involved scope of work, but there's many other ways for the general public and community organizations to be involved. Hello, yes, Ray. See your hand is up.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Can you
Yes.
hear me? Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
I was wondering, since a large part of this is greenhouse gases and TARC is undergoing major changes in the next year, but the measuring is to be done within the next year. Are there allowances for that? Is there a plan for dealing with projections of that sort? If they significantly, for instance, change all their routes and their ridership and so on, that's going to have a major effect on what you're trying to do globally.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll admit I'm not the expert on exactly how EPA wants us to calculate these emissions, but I do think that there are ways to make some assumptions, like especially when we're expecting some change and we're not exactly sure what those changes are going to look like. I don't know if that specific instance is going to be significant enough to, I think the emissions is high level enough that it may not capture that change, but we would have to verify that with the EPA.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Any other questions from anybody? Going once, going twice. All right, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Just a quick reminder that question due dates is November 6th. If you have any other further questions or anything comes to mind, feel free to either put it onto the bonfire questioning module or you can email them to me and I'll make sure it gets to the evaluation team and we'll get a response for you. Also, close date is November 13th. If you run into any issues, just let me know and be able to help you out with that. And thanks
Thank you all
everybody
so
for joining.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your interest. And yes, please reach out if you have any other questions.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.